Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
And joining us now for a continuing conversation celebrating America's 250th, it's our conversation with Hillsdale College's Washington, D.C. campus and Graduate School of Government, Vice President for Washington Operations, Dr. Matthew Spalding. Oh, and Dean of the Van Andel Graduate School of Government. Is that enough titles for you?
I don't think you missed anything. That sounds good. Good to hear you, Larry.
Well, you're also, of course, the author of a brand new book. And I sort of wanted to come back to your book here. We discussed it when it first came out, but it's so relevant for this celebration this year. Of course, the book is The Making of the American Mind, the story of our Declaration of Independence. And let's start just with the title, The American Mind. That was a phrase that Thomas Jefferson used, wasn't it?
It did. It stems off of, to back up more generally even, I wanted to write a book, obviously, for the 250th anniversary of America. But what I wanted to do, and I think this goes to the current debate over America, which I think is front and center in our politics, is I wanted to write a book that really let the Declaration and the founders kind of tell their own story. So it's a narrative about the Declaration, what it, walking through the document and the words and all this kind of stuff. But I was really struck by, there's a famous letter that Jefferson writes to Henry Lee. Jefferson, of course, drafts the document. It is heavily edited by the Continental Congress and the committees and things, but he's the main draftsman. And he's asked a number of years later, by Henry Lee. So what was the deal? What was going on there? What were your sources? What are you thinking? And he writes this letter back, which is actually quite phenomenal. And Jefferson, who's not exactly a unambitious, fly on the wall guy, right? He likes being known for things. But he writes this letter, and he says, I didn't write the Declaration to invent new ideas or insert ideas into it. It was to be the common sense of the American mind, and an expression of the American mind, from which I get this my title, which is, this was not Jefferson making it up. This was not Jefferson inserting Locke or whatever it might be. He was a draftsman, and he was writing to capture the moment, which in 1776 had been 2 years of debating and pamphlets and, Thomas Paine's Common Sense and all the other things going on around him. And he was assigned to capture that, as a draftsman would be assigned to do so. And so he said this was intended to be an expression of that American mind. So that's what I'm trying to capture in the book, which also then begs the question: where does that come out of? What are the traditions? What's the background? What gives rise to this American mind that Jefferson so eloquently captured on July 4th, 1776?
What fed that American mind? What helped that American mind develop to the place where the Declaration was the right expression of it? Well, go ahead, answer your own question.
So I kind of break the book down into different parts of the Declaration, and there's a good portion of it is like, how do you get there? How it was written? What was the debates in the Continental Congress? All of which is very important. I mean, Adams and Dickinson had these famous debates. But one thing in particular, going back to taking it back farther, is the Declaration begins with historical reference, which everyone will know, right? When in the course of human events. It doesn't say last year, 6 months ago. It's this kind of big sweeping reference, which I take to mean their broad understanding of history. So then I talk a lot about that history, which they were clearly conscious of. It's in all their letters. It's in their writings. It's constantly at their forefront of their minds, which is the Greek and Roman tradition, the British tradition, clearly the rule of law tradition coming out of England. They're very English in that sense. But also overwhelmingly, the horizon in which they're writing all of these documents is the broad Christian tradition across Europe into the Americas. And nowadays we ignore all those things and just kind of think as if this was merely an element of the modern Enlightenment and modernity, and we kind of miss the forest for the trees. There's something much deeper going on here that they're capturing in this document that was decades developing through sermons, through pamphlets, through arguments that Jefferson is trying to capture.
So you've got your ancients there, obviously some democratic foundational values from the Greeks, and certainly ideas of a republic through the Romans. And then, as you say, this Christian, Western European Christian ethic, and certainly, let's face it, an Anglo-Christian perspective on things. That mix, that sort of a coagulation of those different focuses and disciplines, when they mesh together here in the new world, why is that mix important to understand?
And coagulation is a great word to use. But you're absolutely right. It's on the one hand, the American founding clearly is shaped by the Christian tradition broadly, but going back to the medievals especially, but all the way back into the groundings of natural law and in the tradition, going back to the Book of Romans and letters of St. Paul. And then it's also specifically very much a overwhelmingly Protestant, although there's a large Catholic population, including in a Jewish population, for that matter. And so it's this interesting intertwining of, on the one hand, it's very much shaped by Christianity in particular. You can't really get to all men are created equal without this notion that Christianity introduces that we are equal in the eyes of God. But on the other hand, they're very much shaped by the civil wars in England, which were religious wars, and they wanted to prevent those. And so, you're right. It's just kind of this interesting mix of these things that's very unique. But I think sometimes we overlook all that because the progressive left wants to make it all about deism and secularism and rationalism. Yeah. And then, unfortunately,
the secular left reads the New Testament and thinks that Jesus was a Marxist.
That's right. Okay, there is a little problem there, right? But then increasingly there are some of our own allies and friends on the right who kind of want to overstate it. And I understand they're wanting to do so, but overstating it doesn't really help the argument either. We want to get a good history. My point is there actually is a good history there that's clearly grounded in the Christian tradition, but it's not specifically Christian in a doctrinal sense, but it's clearly shaped by. So it's how do you have a good language to talk about the influence of Christianity and religion generally, the theological influence, which is very important, but at the same time recognizing that they did believe in religious liberty, but that doesn't mean radical secularism and the expunging of religion in our culture. So part of it, that's exactly why I wanted to let them tell their own story as much as possible through original documents, because they actually give us a very good answer to those things that we actually need to hear, in my opinion, right now, given the divisions left and right and within the right and within left, right? This is good stuff right now for us to be relearning.
In the book, we're talking about the book, The Making of the American Mind, the story of the Declaration of Independence, which, of course, is perfect for this America 250 celebration, Dr. Spalding. And listen, there's a lot of research, obviously, that went into this. But the good news is they weren't really secret about what they were doing. They left a whole lot of breadcrumbs for you to follow. There's so many great
Absolutely. They're well read.
And we're back with Dr. Matthew Spalding. By the way, of course, he's the Vice President for Washington Operations and Dean of the Van Andel Graduate School of Government for Hillsdale right here in Washington. And before we continue talking about your great book, The Making of the American Mind, Dr. Spalding, I know the campus here in D.C. on Capitol Hill, you've been going through some amazing renovations. Is it true that it's about to open now?
Yes, it is. We're just moving in there, and we're going to start having events there. I mean, indeed, this next week I have a book event for my book, and then other things after that. So we're kind of back in business. So the graduate school, the undergraduate component, our public lectures, events, dinners. Yes, we're back in the building. It's this beautifully renovated building. You got to come see it, Larry. You're going to really like it.
I think I'm gonna be there. Actually, we're doing a celebration for President Lincoln, if I remember right.
Yeah, we do a Washington Lincoln toast, and I believe you're coming, and looking forward to seeing
Vince
you.
And I'll be there. Can't wait to see it. And I just real fast, just give us a thumbnail on the program, because I know that there are a lot of people who work in D.C., whether on Capitol Hill or maybe a think tank, or they want to get more involved and advance their education. The graduate program you guys have there is truly unique.
No, and that's we do lots of other things, but that's probably the cornerstone, if you will, which was we wanted to create a graduate school in D.C. that was specific to this place, which you don't go back to Michigan. We do it actually here, and we do the courses in the evenings and on the weekends. So a requirement of the program actually is you have your job in D.C. in the public square, and you're taking courses at the same time. So it's a master's degree in government, in governing, which studies the Western canon, the great documents of the founding, law, history. But it's meant to work with someone's schedule, so you can continue work in the Hill or the White House or a think tank or in some cases law firms, and get a master's degree from Hillsdale College simultaneously. And our building in D.C., our campus in D.C. is where all the classes are. And we have a great faculty there, including myself and several others who everyone should get to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I mean, you meet anybody from that program and you recognize that they got a great education and they're really achieving. I mean, the Hillsdale Mafia, as it were.
Yes.
Yes.
For some reason, someone originally thought that was a criticism, and I kind of like the Hillsdale Mafia because that means I'm a Don. You know, I like that.
Oh, you got to do a Brando now. LarryForHillsdale.com, by the way. LarryForHillsdale.com if you want more information. All right, now back to your book. You were just talking about Thomas Jefferson, this idea that the Declaration was an expression of the American mind. That sort of begs a question, and I know that's a no-no when you're engaged in these types of discussions, but I'll beg the question. Have we changed our mind, America? I mean, do we have that same American mind than we did then?
No, I think that's a great question, and I think you're right on the money. And it's I would say yes and no. On the one hand, we clearly have, if you think of has the American intelligentsia, the academy, the highfalutin educated people, they seem to be going in a different direction, which is kind of influencing one part of the debate. But we're a divided country right now, and I think it's all about issues and different things and politics. But at the end of the day, I actually think we're having a debate about what America means. And I think that's not a decided question. I think it's not settled. But I do think a majority of the American people, what we would call conservatives or right of center, but also what we would call old liberals, the old Democrats of the day, they still think this is a good country. And I think these principles still speak to them, which is say we still appeal to the Declaration of Independence. I mean, every president, left, right, and has done so. It's still the kind of the language of America, but now we're debating it. We're arguing about what it means, which I think is, on the one hand, it's unfortunate. But on the other hand, it's healthy, which is why 2026 is this great and unique opportunity, because the whole country will be focused on this to celebrate and have parades and that kind of thing, but also maybe relearn something and rediscover these truths. That's my larger objective here. And what I'm trying to do with my book is try to use this moment appropriately to celebrate it, but also to let's rethink these things. Let's rediscover these things. Let's hear what their argument is, because I think a lot of people are tired of the attacks coming from the left about racism and the terrible stories of America and all that kind of thing. I think they actually want to hear the story in a way they haven't heard before, which is very straightforward, warts and all, because it's aspirational. What did they accomplish? Because they know deep down that what they did then somehow has something to do with what we enjoy today. And that's worth remembering. If you remember it, you relearn it, you're in this debate.
That's the idea of learning, isn't it? And remembering
and
getting into it. The Making of the American Mind, the story of our Declaration of Independence. We're speaking with the author, Dr. Matthew Spalding. And sadly, I've only got like a minute for you to answer this question.
Yes.
And if it's going to be a longer answer, we'll carry it on to our next conversation. But I keep hearing mixed opinions about this idea, this old phrase that we've heard for quite some time, which is America is based on an idea, that America is really an idea. And it is, certainly. Right. I mean, it is the first country that was born based on an idea and a group of men getting together and saying, this is who we're going to be. But 250 years later, is America still merely an idea, or we are our own culture?
Right.
We are our own people, aren't we?
Wait, here's a short answer, but we should come back to this because it's actually a key component of the current debate. America is an idea, but it's not only an idea. It's never been just an idea. It's kind of a popular modern thing that, it's just an idea, which means we can be whatever idea we want. What's great about America is it was a particular people a particular nation, a particular government that was formed under the Constitution, dedicated to a set of ideas and principles. It's the combination of those things. So I think there's a much larger, bigger answer there that gets to that. It's never been just an idea. The critics use that on both the left and right to kind of undermine the notion of ideas simply. And we need to recover the proper understanding again.
And a national identity that transcends just, buying into an idea, such as it were. Our identity goes well beyond just that.
Right. We have our own traditions, our own way of life. That's an element of this. It's very important. But our way of life includes a dedication to these fundamental human principles, and that's what's beautiful and exceptional about America.
We got to leave it there, sadly, but we will continue the conversation. We're having it all year long, by the way. We here at WMAL and our friends at Hillsdale College's D.C. campus, the Graduate School for Government. But right now, we're moving on this morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Spalding. Always great to talk.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
And if everyone wants to read along as we have this conversation all year long, get your own copy of The Making of the American Mind, the story of our Declaration of Independence.
Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
8:37, it's O'Connor and Company coming up in 30 minutes. We've got Chris Plant starting the Chris Plant Show. In the meantime, it's me and Cassie Smedile, who's, by the way, a girl who just can't say no.
We should really have a musical segment. The people want it, Larry.
Yeah. Maybe the people in Oklahoma, but not here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Maybe the people from Tennessee. They've got a superstar of their own in the Senate, Senator Marsha Blackburn, who joins us now to preview a hearing on AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile and their interaction with Jack Smith's witch hunt that ended up with several of the Republicans in Congress getting spied on. Senator Blackburn, I would think that there would be more interest. Why aren't your Democrat colleagues concerned about this?
It is amazing that they are not concerned about this. I think everybody should be concerned about it. You saw Jack Smith weaponize, the federal government and go after not only sitting senators, not only the president, but also 400 conservative individuals and groups. Yeah. And we know they got tolling records, phone records, banking records. We want to find out the extent of what they got on individuals. And when it comes to telecommunications, only the tolling records and where we were when we made or received calls, but did they get content?
Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad you're doing this. I think there's so many people who want to just brush right by this. I mean, this was really wild when this was uncovered. And yet, what kind of cooperation, I guess is the right word, are you getting from your colleagues on the other side of the aisle? Is this a bipartisan effort or seemingly one-sided at this point?
Well, it is a little bit one-sided, as you would imagine. And honestly, Cassie, I think it's worse than Watergate when you look at the breadth of this and the amount of surveillance that they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is too, and it is clearly at the direction of the Attorney General, and the White House was involved in sort of pushing Merrick Garland to appoint Jack Smith in the first place. They wanted to go after Trump, and they wanted to preempt his election, but then he brought you and all these other Republicans into it as well. Senator Blackburn, do we know what the interaction was with AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, these private companies who were faced with this secret subpoena from Jack Smith? Did they? It almost seems like AT&T may have respected the Constitution more than our own Justice Department.
Indeed, it does. AT&T had previously released information on a couple of members, but when the subpoenas came through, they rejected them, even though they were covered with a non-disclosure notice from Judge Boasberg. So our job, pardon me, I've got a touch of laryngitis this morning.
Oh, my goodness, that's not good for a senator.
Well, we're going to get past it and do this today to find out why they felt like they had to be secret about these about these disclosures.
All right. Well, before you lose your voice, I did want to just follow up, since the DHS funding has become a big issue here. Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel here this week? When the Democrats put out that list of 10 demands, they sort of boxed themselves into a corner here. There's no way Republicans are going to agree to these demands. I mean, body cameras, I think you can agree on. There are a couple of things there, but some of these other, the redefinition of how immigration law is enforced in this country and what kind of court that is involved versus, an immigration administrative court versus an actual judicial court. There's no way Republicans can agree to that. So how are we going to break through this logjam?
I think you'll see us on a continuing resolution. And bear in mind, last time we had a shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, it was all over health care for illegal aliens. And what we are seeing now is they are pushing to defund DHS, but bear in mind, 35% of the DHS budget is FEMA. And right now we have many areas of the country, including Tennessee, that is recovering from a massive ice storm. And why would they shut down FEMA? But, they've got Trump derangement syndrome. They have a terminal case of this. They can't seem to get over it, and they cannot seem to come to the table on anything that is productive for the American people.
All right, Senator Blackburn, we have one thing in common. We both talk for a living, and I feel your pain when you've got your issues with your throat, your voice. Hot tea, honey, lemon, and don't be yelling at your husband. Just, get through the day quietly, and you'll be just fine at the hearing, all right?
You got it. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, you bet. She was also probably, still recovering from screaming at the Super Bowl. Not about the game, but about, Bad Bunny.
I bet she was singing right along with him.
You think?
Every word.
No, not every word. Have you seen the translation?
Oh, that's true. No.
I
don't. I'm just kidding.
Blackburn.
Don't want anybody
to.
to.
She would not be singing those lyrics. All right, we'll look forward to that hearing. It is today, 10:15 Eastern. The Arctic Frost Accountability Oversight of Telecommunications Carriers Response to Jack Smith's witch hunt. We'll be watching for that hearing today. It is 8:43. Great article in Washington Free Beacon by investigative journalist Aaron Sibarium. It takes place in Hyattsville, Prince George's County, where a homeless encampment of tents started to grow in a vacant area outside of an apartment complex. 2 years ago, the county decided that they didn't want to criminalize the unhoused. So they allowed this to happen. And this is against the law. It's criminal vagrancy. It's right there on the books. But they didn't want to criminalize the unhoused. Tramps, hobos, bums. No. You can't even call them homeless anymore. It's the unhoused, Cassie. Well, over the last 2 years, the camp has evolved from a collection of tents into, kind of a shanty town. Call it Bidenville, perhaps. One shack included a generator, a makeshift smokestack, and, of course, when seeking warmth or shelter or a place to go to the bathroom, they started going into this apartment complex, a residential condominium, actually, not apartment complex. The vagrants kept breaking into the buildings, defecating in the stairwells, doing drugs in the hallways, passing out, sleeping in the hallways. They broke the boiler in the building. Now the county is coming in and deeming half of the complex unfit for human habitation. So the residents who live there are getting evicted because the county has allowed this chaos to continue.
Oh, make it make sense. And then did I see that the heat went out? Pipes have burst. I mean, all of these other things. And you say condominium. I mean, so I imagine this isn't like, go tell the landlord. These people are on the hook for all of this.
Yep. Some units have lost electricity because they had to overuse space heaters because the boiler had busted. So amid the cold now, a few units have flooded because the pipes burst. The photographs of the desolation that Aaron has shared here in the article and also on the his social media is fantastic. Maybe we can get Aaron on the show to expand on this as well. This is government, and it's always, we have such big hearts. We shouldn't criminalize these people. Let them live in tents, and this is what happens. Western civilization learned these rules, back during the plague in the Dark Ages. All right, we cannot let this to continue. It's 8:52.